Hi everyone, goldfries here, and in the previous video I showed you the RTX 2060 and how certain games use almost 6 gigs of RAM. Well, I did make one mistake there, and that's I assumed that the games are approaching the maximum limit of the 6 gigs of RAM, but that's not the case. Apparently that is what the games reserve based on the RAM available. Using the same settings on the RX Vega 56, apparently the findings is totally different. I see the games going beyond 6 gigs. So here it is, the benchmark. Let's have a look and see how these two cards perform. They are of the similar performance level, the key difference being the available VRAM. So let's have a look. Now for the benchmarks, I will only be running two, which is the Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And now even with Tomb Raider, you see that the RX Vega 56 has the memory usage of almost 7 gigs, while the RTX 2060 hovers at around 6 gigs. And as you can see, the frame rates are pretty much equal. They are just at that same level, but if you pay attention to the numbers, you see greater fluctuation on the RTX 2060 models, of which we'll have a look at it a bit later. Now let's have a look at the second scene. You see both of them start off at the same scene, but if you notice the one on the RTX 2060, there was a bit of lag. And by now you see that the images, this footage is a little bit off on the left side. Now on the left side is the RTX 2060. You see that although the frame rate on the RX Vega 56 is a little behind that of the RTX 2060, the footage on the other hand of the RTX 2060 is falling behind the Vega 56. You see, the difference is so far right now that the Vega 56 ended the benchmark earlier. Now, Shadow of the Tomb Raider has 3 scenes. I basically cut the loading time and synchronize all of these scenes at the same starting point. This is where we see the discrepancies between these two cards. So at this point, yet again, you'll see that the RTX 2060 shows a faster FPS, but this is not the case when it comes to the video itself. On this scene, it's less apparent when it comes to the discrepancies. You see that it matches very well, unlike the other 2 scenes. So, and we are pretty much coming to the end of this benchmark, and you see that the RX Vega 56 now has a little higher frame rates. Once this benchmark ends, we'll have a quick look at the frame times and frame rate of the Shadow of Tomb Raider. Now this is the performance chart for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. While it looks similar, you'll notice that there is better consistency on the Vega 56. The drops are less drastic and there's much lesser ups and downs compared to the one on the RTX 2060. Now for the Assassin's Creed Odysseys benchmark, you see that even though we started at the same point, the RTX 2060 seems to be moving first. But pay attention to this part. You see that the RTX 2060 has drops in the frame rate. Memory usage wise, as in the VRAM, you see that it's actually going above 6 gigs on the RX Vega 56. By now, you see that the Vega 56 is already ahead of the RTX 2060, which is strange. But then again, considering the lack of VRAM, this, in my opinion, hurts the performance. You see, the RTX 2060 at the start seems to be ahead on the benchmark, but at this point of time, it's very far behind the RX Vega 56. Even though the RTX 2060 does show higher frame rates on the FPS part, it is actually not performing as good as the Vega 56. Now this is the performance chart for the Vega 56 and the RTX 2060. Yes, their performance based on the green numbers look very similar, 34 and 36 for the FPS and 29 and 28 for the frame times. But looking at the actual chart itself, you see that it's evident that the Vega 56 is the better performer. It is consistent across from start to finish, and even the frame times showing a good consistent peaks and falls. Unlike the RTX 2060, where everything is just messy, especially the dips and the occasional peaks here and there, you see that both charts, although of the same similar numbers on the green side like I mentioned, it is in its pattern alone looks very different. The one on the RTX 2060 is really messy with a lot of ups and downs, very inconsistent, which is very unlike the Vega 56. And this is why we're saying that frame times is a good way to gauge how a card is. Sure, the average frame rate is easier to understand and to tell you which card is more powerful, but being powerful is just one thing. We need to know how cards perform. So the frame time here does show that the Vega 56 is the better performer, as it is a lot more consistent, and that will translate to better gaming experience. And what I can say is that this is not to say that the RTX 2060 is a bad card, don't get me wrong. This is because I have set the game to the setting that it will occupy a lot of VRAM, and the 2060 being stuck with 6 gigs of VRAM, and this is the reason, which I believe is the one that's affecting its performance. It is memory starved, and when there's a lack of the memory, it affects the performance, and that's why you see the performance dips. Alright, so there you have it. The RX Vega 56 is definitely, in my opinion, based on those two games, the better card. Sure, I've been gaming on the RTX 2060. I've played Apex Legends, I played Battlefield and many other things using the RTX 2060. Yes, it's still a good card. The thing is that we are looking at objectively based on the performance level. I still do think that if you can get a good price RX Vega 56, it's a better deal. I understand some of you may say that it has the ray tracing, real-time ray tracing that is, and DLSS. What's the point if you don't have any games to actually use it? You only have 3D Mark, a few upcoming titles. Battlefield has ray tracing with DLSS just coming in. It's when you have features that only a few games use, it's not something that you can actually say it's good for, right? So going back to these cards, and some of you might think that RX Vega cards are expensive. Yes, they are. Over at Newegg, I see that the RX Vega 56 is priced about 70 US, higher than the RTX 2060 cards. Well, I mean, this is the typical price, about $60–70 difference. But over here in Malaysia, I found that the RX Vega 56 could be acquired for as low as RM 1499, which is still RM 100 cheaper than RM 100 less than this. That retails at RM 1599. This is the Galaxy RTX 2060 one-click OC. So I saw this at Lazada. Apparently it's sold by a friend of mine, which is Dota Tech Enterprise, which is a shop that I'm familiar with, and I've checked with the shop itself, and yes, they do have stock, and yes, they are actually selling it at that price of RM 1499. No, this is not a promotional video. It's not paid by anyone. This is just to tell you that there is a shop selling it, and they really do have stock. I mean, as a person to tell you the price, I guess it's also my due diligence to actually find out whether it's available, rather than to tell you that Yeah, I saw it somewhere, but actually there's no stock, right? So I did the homework for you to check and verify the availability with the shop, who so happens to be owned by my friend. So, alright, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Do remember to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.